There are love stories that make people dream, and others that break the heart. The story of Tyler and Renee belongs to the second category, not because it lacks love, but because it holds too much of it for a world that doesn't always know what to do with it. Tyler Ziegel was 24 years old when he married Renee Klein. At first glance, it looked like any other wedding. A young man in a Marine uniform, a smiling young woman, and a room full of emotional relatives. But behind the smiles and the camera flashes, there was a reality few could ever imagine. A few years earlier, Tyler had gone to Iraq. He believed in his mission, like so many young soldiers. He left behind his family, his girlfriend, and a simple life in Illinois. He had no idea that when he boarded that convoy that morning, he was also leaving behind a part of himself. The explosion was devastating. A suicide bomber crashed into the vehicle he was in. The blast tore through everything around it. When rescuers arrived, Tyler was barely recognizable, his body burned beyond recognition. More than 60% of his skin had been destroyed. He spent months between life and death, enduring countless surgeries, skin grafts, and unbearable pain. Through it all, Renee never left his side. She had loved him before the war, before the scars. She wrote to him, spoke to him, stayed present even when he no longer had the strength to answer. She became his anchor, his light amid the chaos. When Tyler finally left the hospital, he was no longer the same man. His body bore the marks of fire, but his eyes still carried a disarming gentleness. The media took an interest in his story. The photos of his reconstructed face spread around the world. And when he decided to marry Renee, the public rushed to see it as a modern fairy tale. The wedding took place in 2006. The images touched millions of people. A soldier marked for life, a woman faithful to her love, a promise of eternity despite everything. But what no one saw was the pressure. The pressure of a society that wanted to believe in heroic love. The pressure of a woman praised for her loyalty, even as she felt trapped in a role she had never chosen. Renee later admitted that she felt pushed into marriage, not by Tyler, but by expectations. People told her that a loving woman does not leave a broken man, that she must stay no matter the cost. And she, full of compassion and fear, eventually said yes. But love is not always enough to heal what war destroys. Tyler was suffering. His body hurt every day, but it was his mind that was truly breaking. The nightmares, the phantom pain, the constant feeling of being watched, of having become a symbol instead of a man. A year later, the couple separated, without hatred, without shouting, just two exhausted souls who could no longer carry the weight of others' expectations. Tyler never blamed Renee. He simply said she didn't have to stay. It wasn't her war to fight. Those words said everything. He understood that war doesn't end when the fighting stops. It continues silently in the souls of those who come home alive. After their separation, Tyler dedicated his life to speaking out. He gave talks at conferences, in the media, and in hospitals. He wanted people to understand that behind the medals and flags, there are broken men trying to survive in the shadows. But even as he spoke, he remained alone. The pain never truly went away. It returned at night in the silence of empty rooms. In 2012, Tyler died from an accidental overdose of medication and alcohol. He was 30 years old. His death shook those who knew him. Many called him a hero. Others said he was simply a man who had reached his limit. But those who had followed his story knew it was neither. Tyler was just a human being who had given too much, suffered too much, and had been put on a pedestal too often instead of being listened to. The story of Tyler and Renee is not a tragic love story. It is a story of courage, exhaustion, society, and expectations. It speaks of what it costs to try to be strong when you are already broken. It also speaks of the women who are judged when they leave, even though they too are drowning. Tyler never stopped loving Renee, and Renee never stopped respecting Tyler. But love, sometimes, isn't meant to save. It simply exists to remind us that we were once alive. And maybe that's the real lesson of this story, that beyond the scars, the uniforms, and the flags, what remains is human fragility. The kind we too often forget behind the word hero.